So I guess we should welcome everybody for joining us tonight. WeRPN is really happy to host this event to all of you students who are looking at trying to seek scholarship dollars to advance your education and support your nursing careers. We are a stakeholder of the organizations that we're going to be talking about this evening, and we've also are a participant in providing some of the scholarships that we're going to be talking about as well. So we're happy to bring this information to you. It's really important information because we know investing in your education is essential for the Ontario healthcare system and supporting the nursing profession at large. Samantha Salatino is my co-host, or we are hosting this together this evening. And we spent some time to bring you this information, and we're really happy we'll be interviewing a recipient of one of these awards at the end of this evening's webinar to give you some additional insight and tips on what her successful application process looks like. We'll have an opportunity for questions at the end of this evening's event as well, and we certainly hope that this is helpful for all of the students that have attended or nurses who are looking to advance their careers. So Sam, did you want to, you have control of the slides, I think, because I don't, I'll start by handing things over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll start off with a brief overview about what we'll be discussing today. So this evening we'll discuss the RNFOO Awards, the CNF Awards, and then as Norma Tomlin was saying, we'll have the interview with Holly. So to jump right in, we'll first discuss some of the RNFOO Awards available. So there are several awards available to RPNs and practical nursing students. The first one on the list is the Mary Brennan Harkin Scholarship Award. This is two $1,500 scholarships, which are available to a registered nurse or registered practical nurse who is studying at the bachelorette level or in their third or fourth year as a nursing student. The applicant's career path must also show a path which is dedicated to caring for the elderly. Second, we have the WeRPN RPN Program Award, and this is one $1,000 award which is available to an individual who is enrolled in the practical nursing education program with high academic standing and also demonstrates a patient-centered approach to care. Secondly is the Josephine Flaherty Scholarship, and this award is available to a post-diploma registered nurse or registered practical nurse who is enrolled in an education program at the bachelorette level. Preference for this award, however, will be given to individuals who show active volunteerism. Next, we have the Ontario Nursing Informatics Group Scholarship, and this scholarship is available to a registered nurse or registered practical nurse who is enrolled in further education, which has a focus on informatics. With this scholarship, preference will be given to individuals who are a member of the Ontario Nursing Informatics Group. Next, we have the WeRPN Post-RPN Program Award, and this award is available to a registered practical nurse who is pursuing ongoing education, whether it is continuing education or the RPN to RN bridging program, which will enhance patient care and outcomes. This applicant does not have to be in a degree program, but must also demonstrate a patient-centered approach to care. Next, we have the SE Health Hope Scholarship. This award is available to either an RN or an RPN enrolled in the bachelorette or graduate level education. This applicant must also show that their career path shows a dedication to the principles of HOPE model in community nursing. Finally, from RNFOO is the Regina Borowska Scholarship, and this is 10 $1,000 scholarships which are available to support individual students who are enrolled in education in nursing at the bachelorette level. Preference for the scholarship will be given to individuals who are in post-diploma RNs and RPNs who demonstrate their potential to contribute to the advancement of nursing. So in order to apply, we have the criteria outlined on this slide, and each award has specific criteria to be eligible to apply. However, in addition to that, there is also some general criteria to be able to apply. And this includes being registered with the College of Nurses of Ontario. This also includes nurses who are registered in graduate level programs as well. Students registered in nursing programs at the bachelorette level and are accredited by the Canadian Association of School of Nursing, and also students registered in a practical nursing program, which is accredited by the College of Nurses of Ontario. Part of their criteria also states that preference will be given to residents of Ontario, and unless it is also stated in the description of the award, an applicant must also be currently enrolled in a diploma, certificate, or degree program with an institution that is accredited. And finally, the deadline to apply. So the online portion of the application must be submitted to RNFOO by Monday, January 18th, 2021 at 4:00 p.m. And in addition, the supplementary documents must also be received by Friday, February 5th, 2021 by 4 p.m. The supplementary documents include items such as transcripts, confirmation of enrollment, and letters of reference. And I will hand it over to Norma, who will discuss the CNF Awards.
Thanks, Samantha. I appreciate that. So for over 50 years, the Canadian Nurses Foundation has helped nurses learn nurses learn, investigate, and advance nursing practice. They help do this by investing in nurses, by funding nursing-led research and enhancing the quality and efficiency of patient care. Nurses who look at the whole patient through the lens of the social, economic determinants of health and provide reflective care with community. Nursing often anchors the healthcare team and works with the patient. So the Canadian Nurses Foundation's belief, or the rule of thumb, is if you want to be better, or you want better health and better value for Canadians, then you need to invest in each other. And this is one of the reasons that this particular organization is donation-led, and it's also led by volunteers across the country. So the Canadian Nurses Foundation has a number of awards as well that are open for students. The CNSA Practical Nursing Award, there are 2 awards in this category, and this is available for students who are registered practical nurses who are CNSA membership only, so you must have a membership with the Canadian Nurses Student Association. Applicants must be enrolled in a CNSA chapter school in good standing. The award is not available to current board members. So if you're a student board member of CNSA, you're not eligible for this award. The second, so there's 2 awards in that category. The second award that they have is the Sharon Neal Memorial Award, and this award goes to a registered diploma nurse returning to school to obtain her bachelor's degree, or a licensed practical nurse or registered practical nurse wishing to become registered through a bachelor's program. The next awards we're happy to be hosting are the WeRPN Award of Student Excellence at the PN level. This award is available for practical nursing students who are members of WeRPN, whose primary residents are based in Ontario, and the scholarship is also renewable for additional year of full-time studies, providing that the holder maintains satisfactory academic standings and continues to demonstrate leadership. The next award that we as an organization is happy to sponsor, and just to go back, the award amounts are on the slide there. So for the first 2 awards was $750. For the second award is a $3,000 award. The awards that we sponsor are both $1,500. But the last one is for a student who is a practical nursing student who is a member of the association WeRPN, and of the College of Nurses in good standing, also whose primary residence is based in Ontario, and the scholarship is renewable for additional year full-time studies, provided again that the individual maintains satisfactory academic standings and continues to demonstrate leadership. Next slide. So the eligibility and criteria for applying, you must be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Canada. You must be enrolled in a nursing program in Canada, either RNPN IEN, which is Internationally Educated Nurse, or Nurse Practitioner. You must meet the program and timeline requirements. So CNF site, which is on the slide, as noted, they have some tools that are actually on the site to help you through the application process. And I encourage you to take a note of the site and visit the site, because they actually have a toolbox to help you with your application. The next slide, Sam. So, if we can go back to the other slide for the deadlines. So it's important to know what the deadlines are for all the applications for this CNF application. Applications are open now, and that's one of the reasons that we were anxious to get this information out to you. And so they're open from the beginning of November till the end of February. And again, the awards site is listed there for you to start the process of your application. I'll turn it back to Samantha. We're going to bring Holly Byrne on. Holly is, oh, so nice to see you, Holly. Holly Byrne is a former family of WeRPN and has had a wonderful and still continues to have a wonderful nursing career. And she's going to talk to you about her experience with these scholarship awards. And Sam's going to do sort of a little bit of an interview, and hopefully it'll give you some support on your next steps and how you might be one of those successful candidates. So I'll turn it over to Sam and Holly.
Thank you, Norma, and welcome, Holly. We'll dive into the first question. How do you recommend preparing for the application process?
Sure. So first, I just wanted to say thank you so much to both Sam and Norma for inviting me to chat with you tonight about my experience with the RNFU Awards. I have not applied for CNF Awards in the past, so just keeping in mind for our participants that this information is going to be slightly tailored to the RNFU set of awards. So in terms of preparing for the application process, they haven't opened yet, the RNFU Awards. I was just on the website today checking to make sure that I had the most up-to-date information, but I'm sure they'll open soon. It's usually early December. But the best thing to do in preparation for your application is to review all of the various guidelines. So you can actually go on the RNFU site right now and check on the application process. And there's a number of guidelines that you should check. So they have guidelines, for example, for what your resume should look like, for career goals, what your references need to talk about. I have a bunch of notes here because I really wanted to make sure that I covered everything. So if I'm looking off to this side, it's just to make sure that I'm talking about what I need to talk about so that you get your money. There's also a small biography, and then there's some paperwork pieces that are really important. So as long as you can kind of get all of your ducks in a row as early as possible, it'll set you up for the best kind of success. The paperwork portions are certainly proof of enrollment if it's a program related award that you're applying for. So usually you can apply on the website, on your school's website, to get some kind of proof of enrollment. And that needs to be sent to RNFU along with your application. They're really clear about the proof of enrollment requirements, that it can't be a letter of admission and it can't be proof of payment like a receipt or something. It actually needs to be an official letter from your institution regarding proof of enrollment. So there's some stipulations there. So just make sure you get what you need from your school or your institution and send it to them. And then transcripts. So these are things that are a little bit out of your control. And sometimes we know that institutions take a little bit longer to do things than what we might like. So that's why it's really important to get on these pieces right from the get-go. Transcripts have to be from this most recent term, so your fall 2020 term. If you've been in any other program before the program that you're in now, they need to see all of your previous transcripts. So if you have a degree in something else or a diploma in something else, you need to send that as well. It's really important for them. I think that's new this year, they said, is what I read. It needs to be an official transcript from your school. It needs to be sent to RNFOO in an officially sealed envelope. So it needs to be like stamped and sealed. So that they know that it's not doctored or altered in any kind of way. And this requires at least 2 weeks, so don't leave it till the end, basically is why I'm starting with that. In Ontario, so if you have an institution in Ontario, your transcripts take about 2 weeks. If you're from outside of Ontario, it says to allow 2 to 4 weeks. And then if you're outside of Canada, it might even be 4 to 6 weeks for transcripts. So just to keep these in mind in terms of the timeline, and I know that Sam already talked about it, but the timeline for the supplementary documents is February 5th.
Thank you, Holly. And we'll move on to the next question. So what are some tips that you have for a successful application?
Sure. So, I mean, aside from getting on it early, as early as possible so that your documents aren't held up, I did kind of go through some of the guidelines, and I was hoping to have a chance to talk about that with our participants today to kind of give them a leg up. So, first of all, Sam gave really good descriptions in the beginning of the eligibility criteria for the awards, and so did Norma for the CNF. This is really important that you read these, because when you submit for your awards, especially through RNFU, they're going to ask you why. You need to tell them why. For example, you're the one who should be chosen for this award. So for the awards that have requirements like you know, it has to be patient-centered care, some kind of demonstration of patient-centered care, or the Mary Bruning Harkin Award requires geriatrics, if I'm not mistaken, or care of the elderly. So you need to have some kind of proof of demonstration that that's what's meaningful to you about applying for this award. So just, that's really important to keep in mind. Keep in mind also that there are word counts for everything that you have to write. So you only get 50 to 100 words to explain why. So try and be concise. I'm a chatter, so this is hard for me, but maybe less for you. For your resume, I wanted to just say that WeRPN does offer some services to help you with your resume. So that's certainly an option for you on the website. It can't be more than 2 pages. So don't pad your resume with stuff thinking that quantity is more than quality. The RNFU panel won't read your resume if it's more than 2 pages. They're only going to read the first 2 pages. So don't do that. If you are unfamiliar maybe with a resume, or you're a student and you don't have a working resume, which is entirely possible, some suggested headings for the resume are available on the RNFU website. And they include things like your education or background, any professional work or clinical experiences, any informal or formal scholarly activities, that would be your school programs, any professional or community-based volunteer activities. Volunteerism is really important, especially if you're a student and you maybe haven't had the opportunity to join the workforce yet. Any professional memberships, for example, the Informatics Award that Samantha talked about does require you to be a member of the Ontario Nursing Informatics Group, so please take that into consideration. You might have a great application and maybe have forgotten to renew your membership for that group. That's happened before in the past, so just make sure that all your memberships are up to date so that you can qualify for what you qualify for. And then your employment background. So for nursing students with no prior experience, they want you to briefly describe any employment experiences that you've had that you might have been able to develop transferable skills for nursing. So I'm thinking like customer service type things. Yeah, so make sure to include those on your resume. Another section that's really important that you might not be used to thinking about a lot is your career goals. As you progress in your programs, RNFOO in particular wants to hear about what you're up to in terms of your current learning goals and your long-term learning goals. So this is really important. You get 500 words to talk about this in your application, so don't forget to write about it. If you don't talk about your long-term career goals, that's scored against you in your application. So make sure that you are talking about what you're aspiring to in your careers. They also want to hear about any particular areas of interest. So for example, care of the elderly, patient-centered care, nursing informatics, like the ones that Sam described, or even for the Regina Borowska scholarships, of which there are $10,000 prizes. Any particular area of interest, whether that's, peds or community or whatever it is for you. References. So this is really important. You need to provide 2 reference letters for the RNFU Awards. One of them has to be academic. So this means a professor or a teacher that you've worked with, and the other one often is professional, so someone you've worked with or worked for, a direct supervisor. You need to carefully select your references because they need to be able to not just say, for example, Samantha is a glowing nurse. They need to specifically be able to comment on and evaluate certain things. And I'm going to tell you what the certain things are right now. So your references have to talk about your commitment to the nursing profession. They have to talk about your leadership potential. They need to talk about your academic potential or scholarship potential. And they also need to talk about your contributions, either previously or currently, to the advancement of the nursing profession. So it's not just a reference letter about how great you are. We want to hear about very specific things about how great you are. So if it's a matter of talking to your references ahead of time, getting them organized, that's part of those supplementary documents that have to be in by February 5th, I think. And kind of giving them some notes on what they need to talk about, giving them some structure. Let's see if I need to say anything else. Oh, right. You have to write a bio as well. RNFOO wants to know a little bit about you so that when you win an award, and I'm saying when rather than if, and they publish your name in their beautiful brochure, they can talk about how great you are. So your bio, you get 100 words, and they want you to use the third person. So not I, it's Holly, for example, if I'm talking about Holly. And then there's some sample bios on the website. So you have to have all this stuff in, even if you don't win, when you submit your application. I think that's it for my tips, Sam.
Thank you, Holly. And we have one final question for you tonight, and that is, what did you find most challenging about applying to scholarships, and what do you recommend to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so I think I've talked about this a little bit already, and I think getting started early is probably one of the most important pieces and can be challenging. It can seem like a lot of work. But you get out of it what you put in, really, I think. So, there's lots of free money available out there to invest in and advance your nursing education. But you've got to put in some work. You got to put in some legwork to do it. I think this year I saw that the application fee is actually less than what it's been in years past, which is great, fantastic. But really you do get out of it what you put into it. So I think a mistake maybe that people make is when they write their eligibility criteria for the awards, like why they're applying for this particular award, they kind of give it a cursory glance a little bit. And maybe there's no other corroborating evidence in their application package to suggest that they are the right person for this award. So if there's only one award for care of the elderly, that's the Byrne Harkin one, I believe. You know, why choose you? And so your story has to be pretty compelling, and you have to be able to tell it in 100 words. So you have to have a good reason. And that can be challenging. So I think it requires a little bit of planning and preparation and reflection about why you're doing it. And it can't just be to reach out for any free money out there. It has to be a good fit. And then I think I talked a little bit about the references as well. So that can be challenging to ask, I mean, even ask for references to begin with. Everyone's busy, and it's sometimes hard to ask for other people's support or time. But if you give your references enough of a heads up and say, you know, that the deadline is this, for example, February 5th, you can also follow up with them throughout the process, I think is really important, rather than just leaving it in their hands and, you know, potentially having a late submission. But giving them some guidance on what to write about would be a way to overcome the challenge of getting a really strong reference. Because, you know, you might get glowing reviews, but those specific things, right, about your leadership potential, about your academic potential, about your contribution to the nursing profession, and there's one more, oh, and commitment to the nursing profession, right? So if you can provide your reference with some examples of those things that they can work into their letter, that will make your application that much stronger. What else? Another challenging part, I think, is the long-term career goals. You really need to think about this, like where you want to go in your career. So not just what you're doing right now, but long-term could be, you know, 5 years from now. It doesn't have to be like 10 years from now, or, you know, I want to be chief nursing executive in my organization. It doesn't need to be anything like that necessarily, but just where do you see yourself in terms of your commitment to the profession, right? Keeping in mind that both of these organizations are donation-based, right? Like RNFOO and CNF are both donation-based. So RNFOO is largely donations from nurses who believe in supporting other nurses to grow their education. So keep in mind that when you're applying for these awards, this is someone who has funded this because they believe in your potential. And I think that that's really important. So you have to put in the effort to get out of it what you deserve, I think is probably the take-home message.
Thank you so much, Holly, for all those wonderful tips and discussing your challenges that you found. We will move on to any questions that anybody might have for us tonight. Feel free to type it into the chat box or turn on your webcam and ask your question.
Holly, I think you made some really great points, though, you know, about where these scholarships come from, that they come from nurses who have donated into these foundations, and that they really want to invest in novice nurses to advance their career. So I think it's really, you know, when you think about that as an applicant, you're thinking about, you know, what a senior leadership would want in your application, or you know, if you have a mentor even that can, you know, can kind of bounce some of this off of with you, you're going to get some really good insight if you know somebody as well in senior leadership to have those conversations. So I think that might be helpful too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, if you can have someone proofread your writing, certainly with the career goals and the bio, I would maybe recommend asking your references to submit their letters to you beforehand. You can't submit them to RNFOO, but you can provide your references feedback on their letters to make sure that they've hit all the points that they needed to. you know, and send them back and say, hey, you know, I would suggest this to strengthen this section or whatever. That's always available to you. You don't need to go in blind, right? You can coach them along in reference letters. So yeah, absolutely. Have someone else put their eyes on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there's a question in the chat. Amanda's asking, she had missed the beginning of the meeting, but does this apply to all nurses or just RNs? No, this, you know, I see us all as nurses to begin with. We're all nurses. And so there are categories that are open up to every level of nursing, from RPN to RN to RNs that are looking for their masters as well, and doctoral degrees, and in research as well. So there's a number of different categories with each of the foundations. WeRPN's very happy to be a key stakeholder to support some of these scholarships. And so there is the scholarship with CNF that is open to RPNs that are looking to advance their education in any degree, not necessarily just an RN degree. So there's a number of different areas. It's not just for one category. Does that help, Amanda? Take some time and look at all the categories as well, because quite often as RPNs, we assume that it's all RN-based scholarship awards being granted, and that's one of the reasons as we're hosting this session, is so to open up your knowledge on what's available to you as an RPN so that you can advance and practice.
I think,
is there any other questions? This is your time.
I was just going to comment, Norma, on what you were saying about the, you know, is it all for RNs? I think, you know, the RNFU name can be a bit of a misnomer for people. And I like to try and think about it like we're all registered nurses, right? Like whether we're registered practical or registered nurses, like BSCN, not BSCN, doesn't matter. We're all registered as nurses in the province. So that might be a better way of thinking of the name instead of a bit of a misnomer.
Yeah, good point. So any other questions from anybody, any of the participants? We've got, Shannon has a question.
Shannon's typing out her questions.
We're waiting too. As a matter of fact, RNFOO is actually announcing their Innovation Awards this evening, which is pretty exciting. We thought we would be competing, but we realize our audience is very different than their audience tonight. So they have last year introduced an award, innovation award for nurses leading at the point of patient care, and they're continually evolving in how they can invest with providing support to nurses that really impacts the skill, knowledge, and judgment that nurses bring to patients through innovation and through unique design. And there's some really interesting participants that have been nominated for those awards. I'm sure that when you go back to the site to look at the applications, they'll have some information about it. Definitely have some information about last year's winners. So have a look. It's pretty amazing what nurses are doing out there. So Shannon, will this presentation be posted for review? I missed the start of the meeting. Can you recap what scholarships for RPNs students? I'm currently completing my praxis, but intended to carry on without a year or two. And oh, you want to carry on to the bridging? Okay. So the actual slide deck we likely will be posting, correct, Samantha? Okay, so the slide deck will be posted up on our site, and so you'll be able to look back at the awards that we've highlighted, and so hopefully, and if you have questions, you can also email us at WeRPN. Both Samantha and my email contact information is available on our website, and we're happy to answer any questions that you have. There's another question from Elizabeth. Is there any specific award geared to specializing in such areas like the operating room? A good question. Are you familiar with the RNFU? I don't believe the RNFU has one. I don't think CNF has one either. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that out there isn't potentially an award, that we're just not aware of it from these two scholarship donation funds. Are you aware of anything, Holly, yourself?
No, I think you're right, Norma. I don't think RNFU or CNF have anything specific for OR, but that also doesn't mean that you can't apply for one of the general awards and say that your particular passion is in the OR and why, and tell a compelling story about it. So there are options. You could apply for something general like the Regina Borowska scholarship.
And for those of you that aren't aware, aside from the scholarships, once you do become registered, there is the NEI, Nurse Education Initiative Grant. This is money funded through the ministry that we are the gatekeepers of for practical nurses. So the NEI fund, all the information is on our website about the Nurse Education Initiative Grant, but those funds are subject to approval, just like any application. And the money really stems from, again, having impact on patient care and patient well-being. A lot of times nurses assume it's for their education and advancement, and in essence, that's what we want it for a lot of us. But really, the government dollars are looking at supporting patients and patients' well-being and getting that return of investment. So those applications that are really geared towards things like care of the elderly and long-term care, those would certainly be looked at as highly eligible. And so that application's on our website as well. You don't have to be a member of the association for those funds. You just need to be registered. So if you're already a registered practical nurse, you're eligible if you hold a license with the College of Nurses of Ontario in good standings. And all of that information is on our website too. So Amanda has a question. If you're an RPN student, is it possible to win an award to go towards RPN nursing education? Again, I believe the CNF has one, the second one. I just want to double check that. Just see. So it looks like the education is really geared towards advancing in a specialty area. So it does look like you can. The second award for CNF is geared towards available practical nurses who are members of WeRPN, primary resident in Ontario, and the scholarship is renewable for additional year full-time studies, provided that you maintain, again, a satisfactory academic standing and demonstrate leadership. So this is if you are advancing in a specialty area, that certificate or those dollars are for nurses and potentially maybe for the OR. It's not necessarily towards a degree program. That second award that we have with the Student Excellence PN Level Award. The second award is for bridging, however.
It looks like that's all of our questions so far.
So is there any other questions from anyone that we can help support you with?
I have a couple of private questions that are coming in through the chat, which is just what I'm responding to if you hear me typing away.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So again, we certainly hope that this information has been helpful. Nursing is lifelong learning as far as the expectations of nurses. And, you know, again, one of the reasons that it's important that these investments are made in nursing so that you can continue to support your education. WeRPN is happy to support student nurses. We encourage students to become student members of the association and learn about all of the benefits that you have as a member of the association. You know, all of our membership benefits are equal to our regular members. The only difference is the professional liability insurance. We don't cover that component, but once you join us as a student member, you get all the same benefits and discounts and supports that regular members get. And Holly had mentioned that we do offer the resume support and career directions support. And our members receive those special supports along the way. And our professional practice team is always available to take calls and emails. And we've heard from a lot of students through the COVID crisis, and helping support you and navigate you through that as well. So certainly we're here for you to use as a resource, and we want to see you successful. We need you to be successful, and you know, we're happy to help in any way that we can. So that being said, it's pretty quiet. We're hearing crickets. If you do have further questions, please reach out to us. We're here to help you, and we hope that you found this somewhat informative and helpful. And for those of you that are getting close to graduating, we do have coming up next month, December, watch our social media. We have a new grad information night that is going to talk in depth about some of the nursing landscape that you can anticipate joining as you become a new grad, and some conversation around benefits that we have to support you, but more importantly, really helping you navigate your next few months as a new grad. So this is an information night coming up in December. Watch social media to register for it, and we hope that, you know, if you're getting close to graduation, you join us to learn some of the things that are coming your way as you enter our great profession.
Yeah, if I could just add a couple of final thoughts. Sorry, I was just responding to a privately addressed question in the chat. But I just wanted to reinforce some of the resources that WeRPN has available. So the career directions and the resume supports will help you to strengthen your application in terms of your resume and your career goals and your bio with RNFOO. So make sure that you check those out. They're great. Don't waste them. Don't miss out. And then the other thing I wanted to say is that RNFU is fairly active on social media as well. So I have no bias. I don't give them any money. I just think that they're a great organization, and they have funded me in the past. So I would just suggest following them for updates so that you can find out when the awards open or what the status is. And then they always have some fun tips on how to complete your application successfully as well. So RNFOO on Twitter, definitely. Less so Instagram, more Twitter.
Yeah. And to add to that, don't forget to follow WeRPN as well. We're all over social media, so don't, and of course that's where some of you seen this information session, but keep following us for updates and stay connected. Great. Well, thank you, Holly, for taking the time out this evening. It's wonderful to see your smiling face, and we hope you're staying well and staying safe out there. Holly is working out in an acute care hospital sector right now, and we are thinking of all of the nurses at the point of patient care right now, and really sending our thoughts and thanks to all and each and every one of you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's nice to see your faces again. Sam and Norma. Miss you guys.
Okay, well, good night, everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you again.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye.